The Shark Deck.
Hello, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Last week, the president had a little press conference about the balloons, and he also had his annual physical. Jimmy Kimmel said, if any other 80-year-old came out of a medical exam talking about aliens, you'd put him in a home. Kimmel added, while checking the president's prostate, they did find more classified documents. The Hollywood Reporter did a lengthy fluff job about Bert Kreischer. Is this going to be the year of Bert Kreischer? That's not the Hollywood Reporter asking. That's Johnny Mac asking, because he does have the Machine movie coming, and I think it's going to do really well. And this was a really fluffy piece in the Hollywood Reporter. I've shared it in the Facebook group, which is Daily Comedy News Podcast Group. It's a good read, but it's a little fluffy. The Hollywood Reporter writes, less than a minute into Bert Kreischer's latest special, this one's coming out in March, he rips his shirt off. The move is met with thunderous applause. Though you get the sense that that's the response wherever Kreischer goes. After all, the married dad of two has been performing bare-chested for as long as he can remember. It's not so much a gimmick, he says, as it's the way he feels most at ease. Bert says, it's my comfort zone. All right, the new special, Razzle Dazzle, March 14th. It's his fifth special. What's so special about it? By the way, timeout. I'm guilty of this as well. We have to stop calling everything a special. We have to start using the word hour. Just because you filmed yourself and threw it up on YouTube, it's not a special. Okay, everybody? Now, to be fair to Bert, this one's probably a special. The Hollywood Reporter asked him, what's special about it? Bert said, I wanted to give my girls a bit of a voice. I don't know if I totally accomplished it, but that's what I wanted to do. I'd started writing the material in January 2020, and then they grew up so much during the pandemic. At first, I couldn't figure out why I was running into a roadblock with the hour. But what had happened was, by the time I recorded it, one daughter was in college, the other was driving. They'd matured so much, I felt like I needed ways to show that and to show the fact that they bully me now. They asked Bert, since the family features prominently in the hour, what are the conversations like before he goes out on stage? Effing awkward. One daughter's become hyper-aware of making sure she's represented the way she wants to be represented. I made that kid famous by accident. I didn't think it through, and she definitely had final edit of the special and the jokes. I said, let me tell him, if you don't like them, we'll take them out of the special. In the end, if I'm not mistaken, she only took out one, and with that one, she went, that's a secret. But she always had the ability to say that to me. I mean, some of the funniest things she's ever said about her growing up, she was cool enough to let me talk about, like her period. But there were other parts of her growing up she wasn't comfortable, and she'd say to me, that doesn't go on stage. I remember one time saying, I'll give you $1,000. That's the funniest thing anyone's ever said in the effing world. I mean, there was a joke in the special that I pulled out and I offered her $10,000 for. I was like, I'll give you 10 grand. It's so funny, baby. And she goes, nah, I don't like it. On the Joe Rogan Experience, he fired CNN anchor Brian Stelter, labeling Stelter a prostitute. This from the New York Post. Oh my. You see, Brian Stelter hosted a panel. It was titled The Clear and Present Danger of Disinformation. On the Joe Rogan Experience, Joe Rogan commented on some of the people on the panel, saying, he's with evil lizard people that are trying to control the world. That's his bosses. They want everybody to eat bugs, and he will own nothing and be happy. That's the effing people he's working for now, because he's basically a prostitute. He's probably very excited just to be working again in any way, shape, or form. You know, and he's not a guy that's really supposed to be in front of a camera, right? He's supposed to be a journalist, but he's not even good at that. So what he's doing now is holding water for the evil leaders of the world who want to institute hate speech policies nationwide and, centralized digital currency. Yeah, Joe. Stetler was asked for a comment. He told the New York Post, Joe Rogan got it all wrong again. The World Economic Forum did not hire me to work at Davos. I was there on my own dime to write about the conference. If he wants to tell his listeners the truth, he can call me. I was thinking about you guys as I drove to the National Donuts chain this morning. I just want to cop to, I do a lot of Joe Rogan stories. And here's why, and I've talked about this before. If I put Joe Rogan in the title, it boosts the downloads. And when you boost the downloads, you move up the charts. And when you move up the charts, you get more downloads. So every now and then, and it's like riding waves. So like the show will spike, and then there's a little bit of a trail. Then it'll spike, and there's a little bit of a trail. And over time, the spikes move up, and the show grows. And that's what happens. But you do have to throw in the spikes. So say there are days like, I don't know, right now, where I throw Joe Rogan's name in the episode title, guilty as charged. People type in Joe Rogan, they discover the podcast. Hi, new listeners. Hey, Johnny Mac, you never talk about Marc Maron. I know, right? But this one's a little different. Maron was talking to Variety about perhaps being in the Avatar movie. Have you seen Avatar: The Way of Water? In the movie, Jemaine Clement, which timeout Mandela effect, I'm convinced where I'm from, this guy's name was Jermaine with an R in there somewhere until this year when I apparently jumped from parallel worlds and his name has become Jemaine. But where I'm from, he was Jemaine Clement when he was on Flight of the Conchords. My cousin tells me I'm crazy and it's always been Jemaine, but no. No, this is not my Earth. Anyway, Jemaine Clement plays Dr. Ian Garvin, a marine biologist working for the Villainous Resources Development Administration. That role could have gone to Marc Maron. On his podcast, Marc Maron said the idea was ridiculous. Why the F would I want that job? There's the assumption that we're going to do 4 Avatar movies. Dude, I don't even remember the first one. I don't know what this all means to the world. James Cameron built this city down there at his Long Beach studio. There's people doing acrobatics down there, people flying. It's like Cirque du Soleil down there. During his visit, Marc Maron had to lock up his phone. He couldn't take photos of the screenplay. Maron said, all of a sudden, you're in this zone with people Cameron has there just to read parts and fly and be on dollies. I'm on camera, I think. I got a picture of a boat or whatever the F it is. I'm in the middle of this thing, and I'm totally untethered, and I have no sense of character. I have no idea what's happening, other than there were several unidentified actors and acrobats all around me. Thank God I didn't get the part. I don't like being away from home. My agent was like, you're probably going to go to New Zealand for 4 years or whatever the F it was. Some ridiculous amount of time. I was like, it's not happening. Then Cameron sent me a box of cigars because he didn't cast me. Oh, that's nice. At this age, I have no problem saying no. How much was Jemaine even in it? Like, I would have had to go to New Zealand for a year and people would have been like, were you even in it? But Jemaine lives in New Zealand. He has family there. It was a no-brainer. It's pretty funny. JTA.org was paying attention to Sarah Silverman, who guest hosted The Daily Show last week. In a bit, Sarah took to the streets of Manhattan in search of Jewish allies, or she called the segment Pro-Semitism. Sarah was in front of the Union Square Green Market saying, there's been a rise in anti-Semitism. I'm hitting the streets looking for a little pro-Semitism. Let's hope it doesn't end in a hate crime. She began asking New Yorkers what they like about Jews. One woman said, they make banging Christmas albums. Another man said, what's there not to love about Jews? The food, the culture, the celebrations? She then met some tourists from Belgium and asked them if they've done any Jewy things during New York. They're confused, and she says, have you eaten a bagel? And they go, of course. Sarah said, Jews. Have you ever been vaccinated for polio? They said, yes, Jews. She then asked one of the Belgian dudes, what would you do to protect me? And he said, I would light the menorah with you. Saturday Night Live will be back on Saturday. When did you think it was going to air? Woody Harrelson will become a 5-time host. I guess that means we'll see the other 5-time hosts in cameos, right? So Steve Martin and Tom Hanks and whoever else it is. Jack White is your musical guest. Then on March 4th, Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce is your host. SNL's been slumping all season. Is that a good idea? I don't think so. The week after, March 11th, the star of Wednesday is Jenna Ortega. She will make her hosting debut. It's a Monday, so the Just for Laughs Vancouver Comedy Festival is a little light tonight. We could do JFL Originals at 7 o'clock and again at 9:30. They are recording some albums there, I guess. You want to just see Vancouver tonight? Maybe we won't hit the comedy festival. You want to just like have a couple beers, maybe grab some dinner, have an easy night? Yeah, let's do that. Josh Johnson's new special came out on Peacock last Friday. I have not seen it. Peacock, I think, is the one streaming service I don't have. I got to draw the line somewhere. It's not even about the money. It's about the time, folks. That special is called Josh Johnson Up Here Killing Myself. The set is loosely based around real-life situations Johnson was sharing with his therapist. The interstitials take place in a therapist's office, then cut directly to the stand-up. Josh Johnson, who is really funny, you should pay attention to him, said, if you feel out of place in the world, you feel like it might only be you having those feelings. Being able to say those things to anyone is a life-changing thing for a lot of people, but even talking to somebody professionally, that could be a placeholder. Therapy's playing a role, but you should be talking to people. It's not replacement for community. I think there are 6 stages of grief. They talk about 5 stages. I think when you can truly laugh about something, that's the most definite stage of being over something. Josh Johnson's Up Here Killing Myself is on Peacock. Kelsey Grammer is bringing back Frasier. He wouldn't confirm or deny that the bar, Cheers, will appear in the new series. He said, there's a mention of a certain bar, but added, but I had heard it had kind of gone belly up. Someone recently told me they were there, so I guess it may still be happening. So people were like, wait, on the show has Cheers closed? That's weird. But people think what Kelsey meant was, so there's Cheers, the Bull and Finch pub over by Boston Common. That's the bar you see on the exterior shots on the original Cheers. Then in Faneuil Hall, they had made a replica that looked like the Cheers in your mind from the TV show. So the Bull and Finch / Cheers, that inside doesn't look like the TV set at all. The one at Faneuil Hall looked like the TV set, but the one at Faneuil Hall closed recently. So maybe that's what Kelsey meant. He tells us later in his life, Frasier Crane is a little more mature. He's got a little more wisdom about him, but he's a little bit silly and takes certain things more seriously than most people do. That's his character. It's been really fun to play him again. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia star Caitlin Olsen will star in a remake of the French series Hip. On Hip, we follow Morgan, played by Caitlin Olsen, who's a single mom with 3 kids and an exceptional mind who helps solve an unsolvable crime when she rearranges some evidence during her shift as a cleaner for the police department. When they discover she has a knack for putting things in order because of her high intellectual potential, she's brought on as a consultant to work with a by-the-book seasoned detective, and together they form an unusual and unstoppable team. Can I save everyone a lot of time and money? Cancel this now. That's your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your shows. See you tomorrow. Did you know you can name a cockroach after your ex-lover and have it fed to the animals at the zoo? Hi, I'm Johnny Mac with 5 Good News Stories. It's a podcast twice a week where I tell you 5 good news stories, 5 fluffy stories. I just want to make you smile to start your day. I can tell you about a cat and a rabbit that fell in love, or I can tell you how porta potties are about to be a lot less horrible. What kind of show is this? It's called 5 Good News Stories. The number 5 Good News Stories. Follow it, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your shows. 5 Good News Stories.